and white show. How are you doing today, gents?
I'm alright, you? Tired after London?
Yeah, it was a long trip, wasn't it?
Yeah, but we're here. You know, we're flying the flag for the channel. We'll come in, won't we?
Rob, how are you doing? How was your weekend been?
I'm fine. Unfortunately, couldn't get the win yesterday for Newcastle. But for
The win?
Shame we couldn't get anything out of yesterday for Newcastle. But for York City, through to the first round of the FA Cup after beating Stockport 2-0 in the FA Cup fourth qualifying round, they could come up against Sunderland in the first round.
Yeah, the draw takes place tomorrow, doesn't it, on BBC, Rob, is that right?
BT website.
BT website.
Tomorrow evening, yeah.
No problem. So, yeah, keep your eye out. If you're a Sunderland fan that watches this, I don't know if you do, but if you do, see who's get in the first round of the Cup tomorrow night.
It's the only taste of Premier League football, isn't it?
It might be. Definitely. Well, part one is about Chelsea 1, Newcastle 0. Marcus Alonso's goal was enough to separate the two sides. Lee, I wasn't disappointed with the lineup. I wasn't really disappointed with the overall performance. I just didn't think Newcastle really had a go.
But going into half time, though, Johnny, I know we'll probably go through the game a little bit more in detail, but at half time, I was quite optimistic about it. And I was thinking to myself, you know what, we've got a chance here because these aren't nothing special. But obviously, in the second half, Chelsea went up a notch, which I'm sure we'll touch upon.
Yeah, I think Newcastle were comfortable, Rob, in the first half. I don't think Chelsea had many chances that I can remember. I think Mason Mount's turn shot in the box and Dubravka saved it comfortably was the only thing I can really think of that you go, ooh, that was a chance. But Newcastle very much held their own.
Yeah, definitely. I think it certainly showed in the first half that the lads did the homework on Tammy Abraham especially. Kept him quiet in that first half. So I think that was key, to be honest. When you keep Abraham quiet, the rest of the team seems to stay quiet. Willian couldn't really work his magic. Mason Mount, as you say, went close, but it wasn't really effective, was he, throughout the day? Just a shame they got that lucky break in the second half.
They did, but Lee, we didn't create a lot, but Joe Linton has maybe half a chance with a header at the back post. There's still a lot to do, but at least he was in the right place a little bit.
He's got to start putting them away because the thing is, though, we don't get many chances. We don't create 9-10 chances per game. We're not scoring goals for a reason. We're struggling. And Joe Linton, I know the pressure is on him to put them away. It's a half chance. Maybe can he do better? Can he not? The jury's out for him, and I'm sure we'll talk about Wolves later on in the show. But I don't know. I think he's played 9 games. He scored the 1 goal. I think it's time just to give him a rest. And I think they'll do him the world of good, though.
Yeah, so do I. I think, for me, Joe Linton, there's a lot of pressure on him. £40 million in the summer. He's not an Andy Carroll in terms it's just a free signing. But, Rob, does Steve Bruce have to press, not the panic button, but maybe go, do you know what, Joe Linton, you've done okay for us. I know you haven't got much service. Maybe take you out for one game and then maybe think of the West Ham game? Or do you think he should just continue what he's got until Carroll's maybe a bit more fitter?
For me personally, I think Joe Linton comes across as a player where if you leave him out for a game or two, that might destroy his confidence, and that's not going to help anything. So I think the best way is to put him out and hope that he's going to, put a shift in, which will lead to, 1 or 2 goals going in, and hopefully the confidence will grow from there. To be honest, leaving him out, I can't see that improving matters. But I do like how Carroll does come on as a really effective substitution though. I want to keep it like that.
Yeah, definitely. I thought one thing that we didn't really pick up on the channel yesterday, Lee, but I thought made a big difference was Mateo Kovacic. When he came on for the injured Ross Barkley, I thought he had a bit more about him, especially in the midfield. I felt he had the better of the long staffs. He was driving Chelsea on a little bit more forward. I just felt he gave Chelsea a bit more of a different dimension going forward. Did you really see much of what he did?
Look, you're asking Matty Longstaff and Sean Longstaff. People can see the lineups at home, and it's 2 academy players who have done, don't get me wrong, absolutely fantastic forward. But when they're up against a 3-man midfield, let alone seasonal internationals who are getting a lot of top 6, top 8 sides, it's a difficult afternoon for the 2 brothers. But yeah, it was, in particular, second half, Chelsea had a lot of possession in our own half, which was difficult for us to get out. I even said it on one of our match vlogs on YouTube, is that we need to get out because the more and more chances that you create, eventually law of averages would state you would normally put one of them away. So disappointing. But Kovacic, I don't think he was outstanding. I think you've got to look at Hudson-Odoi. He ripped that flank down.
Yeah, he was very, 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 very good. I said in the preview on the YouTube channel that I feel that this lad could do just as well at Eden Hazard as Chelsea. And I know that's a big statement for a very young man, but Eden Hazard had that limelight. He made Stamford Bridge his own in terms of Callum Hudson-Odoi, Rob.
Yeah,
it was very, very difficult for DeAndre Yedlin at times, especially he needed a little bit more help from his midfielders to double up on him.
Yeah, I think he's a great youngster, Callum Hudson-Odoi. I think he's going to go places in his career. Whether he will stay at Chelsea, I'm not so sure. I think
he's just signed a new deal, so I'd like to think he will.
I mean, in the next 10 years or so,
Mm-hmm.
I think he might strive to get better than Chelsea. So if you get my drift. But he's certainly played with a lot of confidence yesterday, and that was quite admirable considering I think yesterday was one of his first games back after injury, which if you're out from injury for a long time, certainly showed no signs of rustiness. But yeah, he certainly gave DeAndre Yedlin a lot to think about, a lot to ponder. Yedlin seemed to he couldn't commit himself forward as much as he usually does because there was always that threat that Hudson-Odoi poses.
Rob, I'm just going to break away for 1 second. There's been a goal at Old Trafford and Liverpool have equalised through Adam Lallana getting towards the back post from an Andy Robertson cross to tap into an empty net, and Liverpool are back in this game. 5 minutes to go at Old Trafford and Liverpool are now 6 points clear at the top. Marcus Rashford gave Manchester United the lead in the first half. We're going to discuss all Premier League matters in part 4 in our final part of today's Black and White show. But Adam Lallana has equalised for Liverpool against Manchester United. Lee, let's talk about Tammy Abraham. He got a header that hit the crossbar, but that was pretty much it. I think Jamal Lascelles, Fabian Schär, Kieran Clark kept him very, very quiet, the joint top goal scorer in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think most of our defenders, to be fair, I thought Kieran Clark had an alright game. Jamal Lascelles, the only one who was probably a little bit indifferent to maybe Fabian Schär if he's passing, but overall I thought Jamal Lascelles had a good performance considering he's up against a lad who's firing the goals at the start of the season, left, right and centre. So Tammy Abraham didn't have much of a sniff, and that's a credit more so really to Jamal Lascelles, who was absolutely fantastic. And we were scoring the players last night, and a lot of the defenders, I think Paul scored Jamal Lascelles an 8, probably go along the lines of that, or possibly even a 9 if he kept a clean sheet, but the goal wasn't really Jamal's fault, but outstanding performance. More of it, please.
Whose fault was it for the goal, Rob? Because I looked at it live when I was there, and I thought it's a good finish, but we didn't really. We gave Chelsea too much space on the ball, especially Christian Pulisic, who just seemed to run for our defence, who came on in the second half. Could Dubravka do slightly better, even though he made some good saves? I have to admit.
He had a brilliant game yesterday, Dubravka, and as a former goalkeeper myself, played for the university football team in goal. And when you get a hand to one like he did, like for the Chelsea goal yesterday, he will be kicking himself because he knows if you get a firm hand to it like he did, you got to keep it out. So it is a great shame to lose to a goal like that. It wasn't. It's a good finish, but it's not a great finish. Because it's not right in the corner. Yes, it's across the goalkeeper, but it's not right in the corner. Yeah, Dubravka would have been definitely hurt by that, especially considering how many saves did he make before, in the run up to that.
I can think of one very, very good save, Lee, 5 minutes beforehand from Pulisic.
And there was one close range as well, a few in the first half. He made a good 5 or so saves in the run before that goal.
That's what you expect from a top-class keeper, Rob, because he is one of the better keepers, has to be said.
It is, but like I say, the goal itself, it wasn't a great finish. It was a good finish, but it wasn't a great finish. You'd think that a top-flight goalkeeper would keep that out.
Yeah, but potentially maybe the likes of the Alissons and the Edisons would probably be disappointed if they conceded a goal like that. Lee, let's talk about Newcastle's attacking threats.
Sorry, say again. Sorry, say again.
And that was it.
Say again.
And that was it. Newcastle didn't really have a lot. Saint-Maximin tried, Almiron tried, but no service once again, was there?
No, with the thing is, we were talking about it as well at Stamford Bridge, is you've got to get the striker service. And Joe Linton, although he's only got the 1 goal from 9, if he was in a Man United shirt or Liverpool shirt or a team that, I'll rephrase that, not Man United. If he was in a team that created a lot of chances, such as Liverpool or Chelsea or Spurs or whatever, you'd probably be averaging 3 to 4 chances per game. But with Newcastle, Joe Linton's only getting 1, and that you've got to get up that field further. I know we play very defensive. It's against Chelsea. I know it's difficult, but if you're bringing on Andy Carroll and you're not getting crosses into him, I mean, what's the point? I know you're at one stage for about 5 to 10 minutes. You had Carroll and Joe Linton over on the left. Get the crosses in. And I know Saint-Maximin's a hell of a plan. He will be, but Steve Bruce said earlier on the season that he will frustrate you, and he did it a couple of times because he had 2 big lads in. Get the box in, get the ball in the box, get it in. And then obviously he brought on Gale a bit later on to try and sniff around 6-yard box. But Gale, I don't think he had a touch, did he?
I think he had
one touch in the whole of the game.
I could be wrong if there's other stats out there. I'm sure Rob will find some stats in the break about how many touches Dwight Gale had. But Dwight Gale didn't really do a lot. And we're going to hear from Steve Bruce and DeAndre Edlin very, very shortly in the next minute about what they thought of the game.
We can do it now if you like.
Let's do it. It's Steve Bruce and DeAndre Edlin on their thoughts from Chelsea's 1-0 win over Newcastle.
We thought it was a foul on Joe in the lead up to the goal. I know it was probably a minute beforehand, but the whole complex of the game changes if you get a free kick just inside your half. So we feel a bit hard done by then, but overall the way we went about it, especially first half, I was really, really pleased. We've got to make that final bit better than what we were, because we've gotten some good opportunities and look dangerous on the counter-attack. And if you're going to play on the counter-attack, we've got to be a bit more clinical than obviously what we find ourselves at the minute.
We're quite disappointed. I think we felt we deserved at least a draw from there. They had good possession. They had a lot of the possession, but I think we defended very well, and we're quite good on the counter attack as well. So we are disappointed at the result. But they're a good team, and we just have to move on to the next one and try to get a result from there.
A technical mishap on my part, so I will get that clip again very short. I'll get that for you very shortly.
Yeah, we'll just discuss a little bit more about DeAndre Edlin's performance. Actually, we'll touch about that later while Rob sorts that out. What a clearance when Chelsea are through on goal, and looked like it was going to be a goal when I think it was Tammy Abraham just about to pass it into the net. But fantastic block by Edlin to stop it from going 2-0 down.
He just proper stretches for it, didn't he? It was absolutely fantastic. Goal line clearance, stretches for it, blocks it. I was like, blooming hell, how's he done that? So it was a hell of a goal line clearance, because it just came from nowhere. And I think if it did go in, and then obviously you've got the Alonso goal as well, would have been game over. And I don't think Bruce would have chucked on Carroll and Gale a little bit later on, because if we're 2-0 down to Stamford Bridge, it's very slim chance of trying to get something from it. But fantastic. You look, Yedlin, there was talk in the week about him playing for the US when they got beat off Canada 2-0, and obviously the club weren't very happy about it because he's been injured, and the rest of them then played him in the big game and obviously came back. But look, Chelsea are very strong going forward down that left flank, and Yedlin's always going to be in for a tough one.
What did Yedlin think, Rob? Let's get this clip on.
Yep, here we go.
So at the moment, the lads are playing an audio clip on the radio because they can't hear, because you guys have already heard it. So they're just playing the Bruce and the Steve Bruce audio right now. But he's just chatting on. It's only a minute long, so we'll just literally wing it. So apologies about this, because you've already heard it. I'm not playing it twice. But that's the man to blame right there that you can see on screen. That's just shame on you, Rob. Absolute shame.
I do apologise. Sorry. I forgot to put the PC fader up after I faded it out for the intro. By the way, we are talking about the Wolves game later, aren't we?
We are talking about the Wolves game, yeah. Perfect. Remember, YouTube can see
you. We have a question through the email system. Contact tvstudio@gmail.com.
Can I turn it around?
And we're back. Oh, we go.
We do have to move on to the next one and try and get a result. Newcastle do play Wolves, that's part 3, so we'll discuss that in more detail there. Remember, you can contact us on contact nftvstudio@gmail.com if you want to get your questions in for us this afternoon. We have got a question from Liam. Liam has emailed us saying, should we go for a 3-5-2 formation against Wolves as Joe Linton needs support? I think that's a very, very sensible question. Lee, what do you think?
Should we go what? Sorry?
3-5-2 against Wolves as Joe Linton needs support.
Well, I think we probably will play the wing backs against Wolves. Whether he plays two up top, I cannot say it. The question is, would I? I would. He needs a bit of support, even if it's Gale, or even if it's Dwight Gale up top with him. He needs a bit of support rather than just him, because a lot of defenders in the past couple of weeks have got the better of him. And I'm talking, when I say defenders, up and coming defenders in the last couple of weeks have got the better of Joe Linton. And maybe if you've got another striker, maybe it's an Andy Carroll where he tracks to him, or Dwight Gale who's complete opposite where he likes to sniff around the box. It gives defenders a little bit more problem, but you run the risk of someone coming out of that midfield. And if you are going to do it, unfortunately, well, I would say, fortunately, not unfortunately, that Almiron need to come out if we are playing the two up top.
Yeah, well, Chelsea fans will be very, very happy with that result as well, as they get 5 wins in all competitions on the trot. Let's hear from Louis, who I spoke to after the game yesterday at Stamford Bridge.
It was a gritty win. You did give us a game. You were very solid. You obviously came here to get the point, and then towards the end you changed up to try and obviously get that point with Andy Carroll coming on and Dwight Gale, the new Crouch and Defoe, I guess it was. But yeah, look, I mean, it was a tough game. I mean, we kept trying to walk it in, and I think we could have scored a few more goals, but because of our efforts in terms of trying to paint the Mona Lisa, we didn't really do as well as we could have done, in my opinion. But you know, we got the result. That's all that matters. 3 points. Happy days. Credit to Steve Bruce where it's due, because for the Man United game, obviously today, you can see that there's an element of defensive solidity. He just carried on what Rafa had already built, and that's hard to do when you're a new manager and obviously to redevelop philosophy. So I think, look, to be honest, it's just a case of you guys need to sign a centre forward who's going to keep you up. To be honest, I don't think it's a case of. I think there are 3 worst teams that can go down.
I think we'll stay up.
I think you'll stay up. That's me art speaking though, because I love a night out in Newcastle. Lee will tell you that. But it's one of those where it's like, you know, it's just a case of you need the goals, and I think that's where you might come loose, considering there are teams like, you know, the Norwiches who do a Pookie who can turn it on. You've got the Bournemouths are solid as well. Brighton are looking good. You know, it's going to be tough down there, but I think you might just about scrape it.
1, Manchester United. It looks like they're looking for a penalty for VAR.
Oh, VAR, I'm sure we'll talk about that soon.
We will talk about that. But Martin Atkinson is looking at his microphone, or he's listening to his microphone. It hasn't been given, but Liverpool have a call. If anything happens, we'll let you know. Just finally, on this last bit of the game, did you agree with Louis in that Bruce is trying to do Rafa's kind of tactics again, almost?
I would say so. It was very Rafa-esque, and do you know what? I haven't really got massive gripes about the performance against Chelsea, and I'll tell you why. It's because, first of all, you're playing against a side that are a hell of a lot better than us in terms of team and individual ability, first of all. But if Rafa Benitez played like that, we'll be like, all right, okay, fair enough. Benitez won, or Benitez drew, or Benitez lost because we were defensive and it was great. Rafa's a genius and all that. I think with Bruce, the only negative I would probably have is get them crosses into the box. His substitutions, I've got no questions about them. Yes, a couple of them maybe a little bit late, but overall, I'm not massively disheartened about it because Chelsea, we didn't expect nothing. And the lads walked off that pitch, and I'm not embarrassed to be a Newcastle fan, whereas the Leicester one, I really, really was. You know what it is? I put my zip up and I didn't want to be walking around in a Newcastle shirt saying that after 5-0.
No, definitely no. I think you have to say that the lads did give their all, but I feel like we can see that they can do more if they wanted to. I think we can't fault them for effort, but there is a bit more creativity that's in there. But I think it's just how does Steve Bruce get that out of the players. It has finished at Old Trafford. Nothing came from that corner in the last minute. It finished Manchester United 1, Liverpool 1. Liverpool 6 points clear at the top. Manchester United 2 points ahead of Newcastle, who are in 18th place following that defeat. We're going to take a short break, and in part 2 we're going to be talking about racism in football. Unfortunately, this is a topic that we don't want to talk about, But following England's 6-0 win over Bulgaria, it wasn't the 6-0 that we're going to be discussing. It's going to be discussing the fact that Tyrone Mings and Raheem Sterling, Marcus Rashford were the main subjects of racism from the Bulgarian, I'm going to say fans, but I think fans is another... it's not
That's being polite.
Yeah, definitely. But part 2 is about racism, and that is going to be our next topic here on the Black and White Show.
You can't, your PC, you cannot do three screens. It's not powerful enough. So all I do is just move that back and forth.
Do you want me to sort of look like? Do you want me to have the computer screen, and I can always let you know if an email comes through or any relevant comments?
It's up to Johnny if he wants. Do you prefer seeing it or not bothered?
I'll just leave it like that, so I'm happy with that.
So what about emails? Because you cannot see unless Rob sees it.
Right, I've got the mouse here,
Yeah,
and I can't see the screen.
You just put it back to you then.
Because you can see it on mine.
Yeah, that's fine. Just do that.
I want to see if they've shared it.
Is that a good point for Liverpool, do you think?
They'd have wanted to win that, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a good point for Man U. If they took it before the game.
Do you want to move this camera again?
Well, I can't see what it looks like anyway, so I'll move it.
Do we need more than one camera? Because I was just thinking about this last week.
Two cameras as well.
Sorry, yeah, I was going to say, do we need more than need one?
Two, which is close-ups, so I think it's good. It hasn't been shared, this video.
Can't believe the llama storming of all kinds.
I can the llama.
So in fact, Liverpool's next 2 games are tough ones. Spurs, Villa, City, Palace. That's my next 4. Hopefully. Still, we offered them 6 points clear of the City.
You would have took that.
We'd take them off the
So that's safe.
Sound's still on during break.
You'll always be my nice guy. You'll always be my nice guy.
And welcome back to part 2 of the Black and White Show here on Nova Radio Northeast on 102.5 FM. We've just discussed Chelsea's 1-0 win over Newcastle. Part 2 is about England's match against Bulgaria in Sofia. Unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about the bad reasons and why we're talking about this. Unfortunately, we're not talking about the fact that England won comfortably and have almost booked their place in Euro 2020 is unfortunately the fact that Tyrone Mings in particular was racially abused, or all the black players that play for England were racially abused on Monday night by a section of Bulgarian supporters. It started before the game, it has to be said. Tyrone Mings was warming up and there were monkey chants, there were not very nice things being said about Tyrone Mings' colour, skin colour. Robert's 2019 and we're still talking about racism in football.
It's awful.
Why are we still doing this?
I have absolutely no idea. It's a great shame. These are people who are ruining a minority, people who are ruining the beautiful game. And also just even away from football to still have racism. And like you say, it's 2019. There's no room for small-mindedness nowadays. So to be talking about this, and this has been rife in football, especially in recent times. Recently, we've had players like Marcus Rashford, Paul Pogba, Kurt Zouma abused on social media just because they had a bad game, and just because they've for the colour of their skin. And then there was also the FA Cup game yesterday between Haringey Borough and Yeovil Town, in which action was Tyrone Mings and Raheem Sterling have taken to social media to applaud the Haringey footballers for walking off amidst all the monkey chants towards the Haringey goalkeeper. So it's been an awful week regarding racism in football, but yesterday we saw a team put it into action by walking off and taking a stand against it, which I think is what we need to see.
I definitely think there needs to be a stance. I think there are obviously a lot of people that are saying different things about how teams that get players that get racially abused rather, what they have to do when something like that happens. Now, it hasn't happened a lot where players have gone to their captain or have gone to their manager and said, look, this is what's happened. But in the last week, since Monday, it has to be said, I think England have made the starting point, and Tyrone Mings informed Harry Kane 30 minutes in that he was being racially abused. Harry Kane then told the referee. I think Gareth Southgate had heard it throughout the game and informed the fourth official. And the first point of action, Lee, was an announcement to say stop it. What good does that do in terms of just going, well, you stop doing that, please? Anybody can say that.
How can you deal with? I know there was 11,000 in the whole ground.
They had half the ground
already closed
with flags on the seats saying equal opportunity with UEFA branding on
the hashtag equal game.
Hashtag equal game. Well, when you bang on about that, what good does that do?
Well, already the stadium's already half closed because of previous things that have happened at the ground. For me, if that ground or that culture or that area or that stadium, whatever, has a reputation, I think that's to get in the ground. I think first of all, that'll flag if the person has a record of criminal racism, whatever an ID will do, and it'll scan. That'll stop them getting in. I think that could be a good starting point. Yes, I know you can probably get fake ID. Yes, I know you can get around it and all that, but it's a start at least before they get in. When they're in the ground, if that is happening, it's 2019. You've got CCTV with HD quality nowadays. You can pinpoint them now, name and shame. I know they detained, was it 3?
At least 3.
It was 3 that they got a hold of. You can see that there'll be young lads all in the hoodies and all that and doing the salutes and the monkey chants and so on. Look, name and shame, get the police involved. If it has to go that far, do it.
I think that's a good starting point for sure. Rob?
Actions speak louder than words. I've always been a big believer in that. And it's all well and good saying, oh, we've got this campaign to raise awareness of such and such. But yet, we've had these anti-racism campaigns for quite a while now, and we're still talking about the issue. So I think you need to dig into these minority of fans, and I'm talking lifetime bans. I'm not a fan of the whole sort of 3 strikes and then you get punished. No, if anyone does that,
because that allows you, Rob. That allows you to do it at least twice.
Yeah, and if you do that in a workplace,
right, you don't have the opportunity to do that in a workplace.
Exactly.
So if you've got an audience and it could be anything nowadays. It could be the colour of your skin. It could be where you're from. It could be your beliefs, culture, your name, to even to some extent your accent, how you talk. If you say that in a workplace, you will either be sacked or, at the best case scenario for you, it'll be a final written warning, and you can't do that. And this is a working place, so although these are guests in a working place, they still should be treated as a working environment.
We're going to get the Bulgaria coach on his views of this game, and obviously it's his opinion. It's not right. Before we get into this clip, he believes that there was no racism that he heard. It has to be said. He says he will apologise when there's an investigation where if they're found guilty, he will apologise. Since then, unfortunately for him, he has resigned and he has lost his job as Bulgaria's national manager. Before we put this clip on, Lee, he must have known. I have to say allegedly, but he must have known allegedly, or however it needs to come across, that there was something not right. How can everybody else but him
he has
in
to
the whole
know
stadium but not here?
Because his captain knew.
Yeah.
His own captain is pleading with a few fans at the gate at half time to either ask, have they gone, or can you calm down, can you stop it? It doesn't look good on Bulgaria. Not just the football, Bulgaria as a nation. And then obviously the Prime Minister of Bulgaria has come down extremely hard because he wants heads. And I like that, fair play. And he shouldn't be asking, he should be just doing it. So he's asking for heads to roll, and 2 or 3 have from the Bulgarian Federation. And rightly so, because you can't go out speaking like that. I know it's his interpreter who speaks on his behalf, but wake up a little bit. I know what I'm trying to think, what he's thinking is he's probably thinking, I don't want to say something in case it upset my people. I think that's what he's trying to think when he's having that interview. He doesn't want to step on anybody's toes. But unfortunately, it's black and white. Pardon the pun, but it's literally there for you. You can't escape it.
Yeah, definitely. Let's hear from the Bulgaria coach, who was asked about the racism after the game on Monday night.
I personally did not hear the chanting that you're most probably referring to. I saw that the referee stopped the game, but I also have to say that the unacceptable behavior was not only on behalf of the Bulgarian fans, but also the English fans who were whistling and shouting during the Bulgarian national anthem, and during the second half they used words against our fans, which I find unacceptable. This, to be honest, this has not happened to us before, and he's referring to the fact that the disciplinary measures by UEFA were not because of racist chanting, but because of a ban of an organization that's not forbidden by Bulgarian law. We have this problem. We've had this problem ever since England were about to come to Bulgaria, and all I've heard for 3 weeks is people talking about anything else but football, and I don't think this was the proper manner to actually prepare and to play a football game, because 3 weeks everybody was talking one thing. If this turns out to be true, we are truly sorry, and we as the Bulgarian national team and the Bulgarian Football Union are working very hard, and nobody wants to see this, but let me tell you that this really has never happened in all of our games up to now, and this happened now in the England game. So if something can be proven, then we're sorry, but we cannot speak on behalf of some fans. Yeah.
It's just laughable, really, isn't it? It's, after obviously Tyrone Mings went to Harry Kane and Harry Kane went to the referee, it continued even more. And 4 minutes before half time, the game was stopped again, and England then have the big choice: do they take the players off, or do they just play on? And they played on because, according to Chris Powell, who was on another TV show on Saturday, he said he didn't see there was any point to take them off, then play 4 minutes and then take them off again for half time. He just thought, get the 4 minutes out of the way and reassess everything. Was that a sensible thing to do? or
Depends
the right
what.
thing to do?
No, it depends on what the players feel. So if the players feel comfortable doing that, then yes. If they don't, I don't care if it's a minute, 30 seconds, 5 seconds. If look, you don't go to work because effectively, yes, football, it's a job. It is. Although you love it, it has a lot more to it. It is a job for you, whether you love your job, whatever job you live in. And it's not. I don't think it's a football problem. I think it's a society problem as well. Because England, in our country, are not golden boys ourselves. In terms of, because it happens in our country, probably to less extent to what it does in some other nations, but it does happen in this country. And football gets a lot of highlighted things because it's a massive, massive global game. And you've got 16 million people in Britain. You're probably talking 30 to 40 are obsessed with football. That's quite a large chunk of people who like or absolutely love football. And it's easy to highlight it because there's so many football games on. There's so many online papers. There's so many, and there's also good stuff. There's bad stuff as well. That things can happen from it. But if it's 1 minute, I don't care. If it's 30 seconds, get them off if I have to.
Yeah,
it's down to what they feel.
It's totally unacceptable. But Rob, there was a section of Bulgarian fans who were shouting racism or racist language towards the black players of the England team and were ejected before half time. Now, this continued, but not as badly according to reports in the second half. Again, no excuses. But it seemed they got the main culprits out before the second half resumed. Slight progress or not good enough?
Not good enough because I think what needs to be done, if you've been seen on CCTV, you've been caught in the light of day to be doing this, then there needs to be an investigation. They have to pinpoint that it needs to be the right person. Of course, in the ground you can't continue having monkey chanting, so they need to be ejected from the stadium, followed by an investigation, and then followed by a stadium ban. That's the way.
I reckon they should get a criminal record as well.
Yeah, prosecution as well. Yeah.
Obviously, Rob's mentioned Haringey Borough's FA Cup tie against the Oval, in which the goalkeeper was racially abused. They did take the team off Lee. That was the biggest difference in terms of what England didn't do. They didn't take the team off. They thought it was that bad, they needed to take the team off. What does the FA have to do now? What would be the most sensible solution in this situation? Because if they can do it right in this situation, if something was to occur, because there has been other instances just while I was walking up here, Bristol City and Luton, there's been an alleged racist language in the stands as well, in a championship game. So, is this first, I'm not going to say it's the first time racism has happened in this country, but the first time a team's walked off, what do the FA need to do to make sure that the crime matches the punishment, essentially?
I think soon enough IDs. I think soon enough, if it doesn't calm down, I think you might have to start wearing ID to get it in the grounds. And I'm for it. If it means I have to show me ID who I am, fair enough. I think that'll be a good starting point because you've got to stop them getting in the ground. And how can you stop someone? Because I think ID is one thing. When you're in the ground and then it happens, that's another problem to take on. And fair play to the lower leagues, the FA Cup, the qualifying game. It's because they probably have been influenced what England have done and thought, you know what, we'll take this one step forward. We're not having this, and rightly so. The lads are there. It's a dream to get the first round proper. It's a dream to be a footballer. It is, but to some extent, you don't want your dream being tattered by one or two daft idiots who are in the crowd who probably aren't educated. What do you do with those people? So with that, I think you've got to punish them. It's difficult to punish the actual. I wouldn't want a team necessarily being punished because it's not the player's fault. However, the federation or whoever that may be have to take a little bit or half the responsibility of that because they're allowing those people in that ground. And then if it does happen, so let's just say it happens in an England game or a women's game or something like that, and we have this again, for me, you've got world-class facilities at Wembley. You can easily find out who's done this. And then for me, you get the police involved, you get them arrested, you get them proven in court, and then whatever happens from that, whether they lose the job or whatever. I think personally, I think it happens in every football game. I think it's not actually highlighted. There's people. I'm not going to name any, but there's people around me where I stand who aren't racist, but they don't say very nice stuff about Steve Bruce and things like that. So I believe it will happen in every Premier League game. It's now brought to the attention, and I think Raheem Sterling deserves a massive amount of credit for what he's done in the last 12 months to stand up and say, because he's just a young kid, he's only 23, 24, and taking on this on, he goes, I'll challenge this, and obviously he's received massive merits, awards for doing it, and rightly so, he's standing up, and we'll probably need a few more role models, black, white, Asian, whatever you're from as well, more and more to stand up. I know it's difficult, and for me, I would throw the book at them, because how much can you let them get away with it?
You can't let them get away with a lot, but I think, obviously, I know you don't like talking nice things about Aston Villa, Lee. But
do I have to talk about Villa?
We'll have to talk about Villa, because they did something very, very good, and I really liked this. It was really touching, actually. They put out a banner, it was of Tyrone Mings in an England shirt with the claret and blue as the background. It was a very nice touch in the whole tent of Aston Villa's 2-1 win over Brighton, which we'll discuss in part 4. But this weekend in the Premier League, there's no room for racism, Rob. It's been across all weekend, we don't want this in our game. And little things like what Tyrone Mings is saying, little things like Raheem Sterling that's been banging on about for a long time now, it has to be said. This is everyone's game, is the tagline from the Premier League. How long do you think it will take for everyone, well, not, I was going to say everyone, but everyone to accept racism is not in our game, in our society? Because if it can stop on the football pitch and stop with young players coming through, then it's only a positive, surely.
Well, I think it's going in the right direction. Like I said earlier, with campaigns like this, No Room for Racism, about making statements and standing up to racism, it's all well and good having these sort of campaigns, but action is the ultimate goal, if you like. It's the ultimate goal to make sure that there isn't any racism in football. Unfortunately, that there still is. So it's down to the action of taking it out, and unfortunately, it's come in the form of bans in recent years. In football, whenever a player is allegedly racially abusing another player, then that's a ban for many games. I think for fans, which there's been a majority of it in terms of incidents, there's just no room for that in the stadium, no room for that in our games, ruining the beautiful games. So stadium bans and prosecutions is the way forward.
Definitely. Well, Gareth Southgate was exemplary. Is that, I can't even say it right? Exemplary. That's the word. Couldn't get it out. With how he acted and how he spoke after the game as well. We're going to get a clip now where Gareth Southgate and a few England players who spoke to the press after the game discussed their thoughts and their opinions about what happened on Monday night.
I was up in the stands with some of the FA staff. We were watching the game and we heard some sounds which sounded like monkeys shouting. You can't be quite sure. I sent some people down to try and find out what was going on. We had a pre-agreement with Gareth and Harry that I would come down if the game was interrupted. I came down, I heard more at the side of the pitch, and I saw some activity there's a group of people dressed in black behind one of the corner flags, which was appalling. I wouldn't like to describe it, but it was appalling. I had a chat with Gareth at half-time, asked him if he was okay, if the team was okay. He said he was okay, the team was okay. I think the second half went ahead on that basis.
I have to say that the officials were on to everything very quickly. We reported everything immediately when we heard things. We had constant communication with the fourth official and the referee. And I was in contact with the players all the way through the first half in particular, and then again at half time. So we know it's an unacceptable situation. I think we've managed to make two statements really by winning the game, but also we have raised the awareness of everybody to the situation. The game was stopped twice, and I know for some people that won't be enough, but I think we were as a group on board with that process.
It was good. Obviously, it was a great occasion. Like I said, I made my England debut. Slightly overshadowed by a few disappointing chants, but was quite clear to hear on the pitch. But I think we showed a great response. We showed a good togetherness, and ultimately we let the football do the talking, which I think the higher powers will hopefully deal with the incidents that happened. But yeah, we couldn't do much more than what we done on the pitch. I don't know whether certain members of the crowd were removed, or obviously there was an announcement that went out, so I think whatever the protocol was and the correct steps that were taken definitely helped, and we made a decision at half-time to come out and play the game, which we thought was the right decision, and if anything else happened then we would have taken appropriate action. But yeah, we were ultimately delighted with the result in the end.
They were delighted with the result. Of course, Tyrone Mings was making his international debut, replacing Everton's defender. I forget his name now, which isn't good. I can picture his face. Michael Keane. Couldn't remember his name there for a second, but he did extremely well under very difficult circumstances. Rob, what do you think social media could do in terms of this? Because Paul Pogba, Marcus Rashford, Kurt Zouma, as you've mentioned, Sterling, high-profile black players have been targeted by keyboard warriors, essentially, for racism, and they can't do anything about it. Could it also be similar to what Lee said, like an ID check in terms of when you're doing your Twitter? Because that seems to be the biggest thing is Twitter, is, in terms of racist remarks, you always seem to hear on Twitter. Do you feel that maybe you can have an ID check and stop people having several accounts? Because I think Harry Maguire said that in an interview, that he would like something like that after Paul Pogba had missed a penalty. Paul Pogba's human, and he gets a lot of stick for some performances in Manchester United, but he's only human. He can miss a penalty. Marcus Rashford is human. He can miss a penalty. Do you think something like that is sensible?
I think it's a way forward. I know Rashford said start of the season he wants there to be people to have a limited number of social media accounts like Twitter, because famous people, especially footballers in this day and age, there are a lot of social media accounts of people pretending to be them, and of course that's just recipe for disaster in this day and age where the racism has become so rife. Social media, of course, ID checking, that's a slight step forward. I just think it should be just one strike and you're out. If you post something that is deemed racist, one strike and you're out.
I think also with the social media stuff as well, I think not just that for racism, it could be done it'll help copyright. It'll help people pretending, like Rob, you've said, people pretending to be other people. Having a ID, isn't it? You don't have to give them the verification blue tick for that. Maybe just a tick of saying that this account is being verified or something along the line, that this is a genuine person. Because on some websites, you've got to do a pose or something, and that proves that, you upload the photo and that proves that you're this person by doing this pose. So it could be other stuff like that that'll help, not just racism, but anything like bullying as well. It could help loads of stuff out if they had proper ID checks, and not just Twitter, because there is Facebook, and obviously Facebook own Instagram and WhatsApp. That could lead the way as well. So it can open up a lot more doors than just racism, doing that on social media.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. The last couple of minutes on this, I'm actually going to just talk about is the game itself, because England actually won this game. They won 6-0. Rob, they're on the verge of being in Euro 2020. They just need to get a point against Montenegro at Wembley in just over 3 weeks' time. They're nearly there. Yeah. Take away the racism, take away a difficult night. It was a very professional performance. Harry Kane getting on the score sheet, Raheem Sterling, Ross Barkley, just to name a few. A comfortable performance against poor opposition.
The guys put in their best performance, and you wouldn't really expect anything less. I think it's more or less what was expected regarding the performance. It was always just going to be a case of how many against Bulgaria, who I think were pretty poor on the night. So yeah, when you let loose those players like Kane, like Sterling, especially Rashford on his day is unstoppable. Yeah, let those players loose, do what they want to do, and it's like I say, it was always going to be a case of how many.
Definitely, Rashford scored a fantastic goal.
Brilliant goal, yeah.
First goal for England in the 6-0 win. It was fantastic. Cut on his right and hit it in the roof of the net, and that was just a very much
it's very makeshift Bulgarian side. I just want to touch upon. I know we're not going to be talking about the races now because we're moving on, but Bulgaria actually had a black player.
They did, and that was.
And then they've also got the head of Brazilian come on, Wanderson. There was obviously a mixed race as well, so I wonder what those two were thinking.
I think they probably just accepted because the fact that it was literally 90% of Bulgarian supporters allegedly that were racist anyway. So I think they're probably just used to it, and I think they must just accept it's part of what that culture. But it's 100% wrong. But it is a valid point to bring up, Lee.
Yeah.
Last minute before we go on to a break, Rob, how much credit does Gareth Southgate deserve from all this? We've just heard from him before, but.
Of course, he's kept it going from the excellent World Cup that we had last year. To be honest, I think when it comes to qualifiers, England, we're a top seed team all of the time. I just think you go into every game expecting a win, and not just a win, an easy win. In these qualifying games, it's always when we always seem to make it look difficult when it comes to the major tournament, the actual tournament itself. But qualifiers, we always find them a breeze. I mean, the defeat against the Czech Republic last week, that was the first defeat in qualifying in nearly a decade. So
just over a decade, 10 years and 1 day.
Yeah, goes to show that yes, we find the qualifiers easy. You'd expect nothing less than an easy win in most of those games.
Yeah, best of luck to England in a couple of weeks against Montenegro. We're going to have a quick break, and in part 3 we're touching about Newcastle versus Wolves next Sunday, 2 o'clock at St James's Park. Can Newcastle get back-to-back home wins against Nuno Espirito Santo's side, who have got Europa League issues, along with a Premier League battle to continue with? That's all in part 3 of the Black and White Show.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
back to part 3 of the Black and White show here on Nova Radio Northeast 102.5 FM. We've discussed Chelsea 1, Newcastle 0. We've discussed the racism in football, but we're going to talk about on the pitch matters, and that is Newcastle's game against Wolves next Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock at St James's Park. Just if you're just joining us, it has finished at Old Trafford this afternoon. Manchester United 1, Liverpool 1. Manchester United took the lead through Marcus Rashford. We're going to discuss that goal and the VAR situation in part 4, but Adam Lallana came off the bench and equalised to get his first goal of the season for Liverpool 5 minutes from the end, and gave Jurgen Klopp's side a point that puts them at 6 points clear of Manchester City after 9 games. I'm sure all Liverpool fans would have taken that before a ball was kicked this season. Let's talk about Newcastle versus Wolves. I'm going to say they were a bit of a bogey team for us last year, because we ended up only getting 1 point out of 6 league, but we could have easily got 4, maybe even 6 if certain things happened.
Didn't Doherty score like a last minute? That was torture. Minutes. And then obviously we were down Wolves, weren't we? Outside that blimmin', outside at Asda until up until midnight, talking, doing our videos.
Those are the things you don't see.
Yeah. The Dubravka, was it a foul? Was it not?
I still think it was, but
I'm still in shock.
I need to move on from that.
I'm like, it was, it wasn't. I'm unsure. Should be stronger, but then again, it was all that. But last minute, let's just hope we've got a last minute winner, because it'll do us a bit of the world of good. But it's just a shame that we're playing them when they're back on form.
I suppose they are, Rob. And obviously, just before I ask you a question, Rob, you can contact the show. Contact nftvstudio@gmail.com. How do you think Newcastle are going to get on against Wolves? Who do you think Wolves' main threats are? Is it Adama Traore, Rob? 2-0 against Manchester City just before the national break, and 2 fantastic goals, it has to be said. 2 counter-attacking goals, but Wolves thoroughly deserved all 3 points. Is Traore the one that we have to look at, or do you think there's somebody else that you would recommend Newcastle management team to look out for?
Somebody else. I think they've got a great attack in Raul Jimenez, Patrick Cutrone.
Jota?
Sorry?
Jota,
yeah.
He's decent.
Excellent attacking players that they know how to score a goal, and I think similar to Chelsea's attack yesterday, you got the big guns of Abraham and Mount who were getting the goals this season. You're going to need to keep Jimenez, Jota, Cutrone quiet if you're going to have any chance of getting anything out of that game.
Yeah, definitely. You can look. You've just seen, if you're watching this on YouTube, the last 6 games. They haven't lost in the last 6. You can look at the game on the 22nd of September. Against Crystal Palace, a point away from home with a last-minute equaliser. They won in the EFL Cup on penalties against Reading, beat Watford 2-0 at home. They've got a last-minute win against Besiktas in the Europa League, beating Manchester City. And yes, maybe a disappointing draw against Southampton yesterday, Lee, but you have to say they're a real threat, especially on the counter-attack. Do we have to kind of decide to go towards, you can have more of the ball and we'll counter-attack you, something that we're kind of accustomed to now?
I don't think we'll have more than the ball. We haven't all season, but I think they're also strong in central midfield as well. I think Ruben Neves will go on to play for much, no disrespect to Wolves, but I think he's just waiting for that next move. Bertinho's a quality still, even at his age, he's still a quality player as well. And then I've got Morgan Gibbs coming through as well, so I think they're strong there. I think defensively, that's probably where Wolves are weak at, in particular the wing backs or the full backs, whatever system and Nuno Santos plays. I don't rate many of their centre backs. I think probably Connor Cody's probably the best one out of the 2 or 3 that play. But
does he deserve an England call?
He can't be too far off, because he's versatile. He can play centre back, right back, as a leader. The problem that England have is we've got too many good right backs, which isn't a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. But for him, he probably needs a centre back role. But you can't be too far off. You might say that about Jamal Lascelles at a certain point as well. So, decent player, leader, speaks well, even though he's Scouse. Speaks well, but I think
like the Scouse language.
No, I like it on the ladies.
That's been put to bed.
That's me weak spot, unfortunately. The Scouse accent on the ladies. But overall, I think we can target them. But I think for us, we've got to create a lot more.
Definitely. In terms of Wolves, they play 3-5-2. Rob, how can Newcastle impact that formation from Wolves, because it has been the same formation since they've been promoted from the Championship to the Premier League. It's obviously since the Premier League, there's not many changes, it has to be said. Cutrone replacing Jota is probably the only one that you go, someone that's really replaced this starting 11, but you have to say they had a fantastic season last year playing that formation. How can Newcastle hurt Wolves?
Good question. Like I say, they've not changed much since they got promoted, or more like since last season when they did really well. I'm a fan of if it's not broken, don't fix it. And yes, they've had a slow start to this campaign, but they've certainly picked it up in recent weeks. So certainly back to what's more familiar territory for those players, mid-table Premier League. Certainly more than capable of that. They are difficult to stop when on their day, so we'll just see what happens. But Wolves, we've never really had a good record against them, even when they were prior to their takeover a few years ago. Wolves were never really that good a side. They were never really a side that we enjoyed playing against. So yeah, it looks set to continue, unfortunately.
Lee, would you match them and go 3-5-2 to give Joe Linton a bit more help, to maybe have that extra man in midfield to help Matty and Sean out? Because obviously we did kind of struggle against Chelsea at times, especially in the second half when they really had a lot more of the ball. Would you do that, or would you stick to what we know?
It's a good shout. I mean, Liam sent us that question in earlier on, so keep sending your questions, get your emails in to us, so we'll answer them. But it's a good shout. Like I say, I think if Joe Linton's playing up top, he's playing against 3 centre-backs. That is going to be tough. So you need something, and I just don't feel Almiron is that person alongside him. If you're going to go long, get Andy Carroll, give him a start. Or if you want someone who's nimble, who likes to fish around the box, go Dwight Gill. I think Joe Linton needs that help, because 3 centre-backs, who's going to be the one breaking through? Because Almiron's been playing over on the right-hand side, and we've got an interview with Roberto Rojas, and he's not too keen on him playing out there, and I just don't think Almiron is a right winger, or even a left winger. I know he swaps with Alan Saint-Maximin a lot, but for me, I've said this for a good couple of weeks now, I don't think it's a bad thing if you drop Almiron. I don't think it's a bad thing if you rest Joe Linton. 1, just give them a breather. 2, remind them that they're not always going to be in that side. And I think it's unhealthy in modern day football to have a player starting every single game. The only player that I would, in our team, outfield player, going forward would be Matt Ritchie. That's the only one going forward I would start every single game.
But you need the competition. And Rob, does Almiron have competition that's going, I'm breathing down your neck and you're coming out of this team because I'm playing well?
Well, in terms of wingers, they're fairly versatile in that we've got ASM and Atsu. I think it's possible that if you're having 3 up front, saint-maximin, Joe Linton in the middle, saint-maximin on one side, you can have Atsu on the other. So it's almost like we have interchangeable wingers. So Almiron's place is never a given. It's never guaranteed. He has to work hard in order to start games.
Yeah, definitely. It has to be said that Almiron hasn't performed to the standard of last season.
You don't want him in that start lineup, do you?
I don't. I have to be brutally honest with you. If I was Steve Bruce on Sunday, I would drop him. I really would. I think, similar to what you said, Lee, yes, no player's bigger than the club. I don't think he has that attitude problem. I just think he might be better coming off the bench 20 minutes from the end. Wolves might be tiring the fact they've got to play Europa League on Thursday.
Well, you remember his debut against Wolves?
Yeah, he was a real threat. He was a handful.
Got hacked down, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, not his debut. Yes, it was his debut because he started the Huddersfield one, didn't he?
Yeah, he
the one
did.
after.
It was brilliant actually because I always remember this. I was at the game at Molineux last year, and when he came and got a fantastic applause, and there was a bloke behind me. First thing he did was make a pass, and someone said, "Oh, fantastic signing, great signing! We've got a wonder kid here," and everyone just started laughing because obviously it was just the timing of it all was absolutely perfect. Even though Newcastle unfortunately could only get a point at Molineux after Willie Bolly's late goal.
Controversial.
Very controversial, has to be said. Rob, the Europa League for Wolves has been an issue to start the season, has to be said, until against the Crystal Palace where they got that point. That's kind of lifted their season off. In terms of Europa League versus Premier League, Wolves don't have the biggest of squads, and Nuno Espirito Santo doesn't really like a massive squad. He says he only likes having 19, 20 players really to choose from as a squad, which tells you a lot, has to be said. how do you think Wolves have to cope with the Europa League versus Premier League, and how can that really help Newcastle next weekend?
Well, even though they've had a difficult start to the league campaign, I think it's still early days to determine whether they're going to be affected by the Europa League, because we've only had 2 group stage games in European competition thus far. Have they found it a struggle? Maybe. Like I say, it's too early to tell, and you need a big squad as well. You need a big squad, especially if you're taking on an extra competition. I think 19 to 20 is too thin. I think it has to be at least a good 23 to 25. Bung in a few youth players who are sort of knocking on the door of the first team, ready to make that step up away from the reserve side. But yeah, it's a squad that does need improving in terms of quantity.
Yeah, definitely. Newcastle had the same sort of situation not a million years ago, where Wolves were battling to stay in the Championship, which is strange to say the least. What can Wolves learn that Newcastle didn't do well in terms of juggling the Premier League? Just Vernon and Anita, wasn't it?
That's it, and I think they have got actually ambitious owners. So when they came up, they splashed even before they came up, didn't they? I mean, to get Ruben Neves in the Championship's a hell of a feat. I know everyone looked at it for 15 million. That's a lot of money.
It's a gamble, isn't it?
But it's a gamble that's paid off. So sometimes you have to take those risks.
Sorry to butt in. Did any of you know who Ruben Neves was before he signed for Wolves?
Vaguely a Porto, because he was just a Portuguese under 21 at the time. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he got his first Portuguese call-up whilst in the Championship.
He's actually the youngest player to ever don the captain's armband in the Champions League.
That's incredible.
Brilliant, isn't it?
But you have to almost admire Wolves' bravery to go out and get that sort of player, because to leave Porto, no disrespect to Wolverhampton Wanderers, but if you're comparing Porto to Wolves, it's massive, isn't it? And you have to almost admire the. They must
have given them reassurance and to say, right, okay, we'll match your wage or even increase it. If we don't hit the Premier League in, say, whatever time, we'll allow you to leave on this release fee. It'll be something along those lines, because he'd be stuck with a 5-year contract in the Championship. So I think would have done some hell of some negotiations, and not just that. You look at obviously Raul Jimenez as well. How much they pay for him to turn that to permanent?
£30 million.
I mean, that's mental. Look at we paid Joe Linton 40 million, but obviously.
Who would you rather have out of the two?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Is it? It's not for me.
But if you put Joe Linton in Wolves' side, you get service.
Yeah.
Does Joe Linton match the goal scoring records, Rob, of Jimenez?
Raul Jimenez hasn't done it in one of the big leagues, though. Not the big.
Premier League, not a big league.
Yeah, but if you put Joe Linton into that Wolves side, I'm trying to back my man here, Johnny.
I'm just putting the. I'm just.
Who are you?
I'm just the guy in the middle.
No, you're a Newcastle fan, so you back your striker. so Joe Linton, if he goes in that Wolves side, I'm pretty confident you can get 10 to 15 goals like Raul Jimenez. If Raul Jimenez comes to Newcastle,
get your comments in on YouTube, get your emails in. Who do you think, if Jimenez was at Newcastle and Joe Linton was at Wolves, who would get...
Jimenez would only get 1 or 2 chances maximum in our side, though.
Who would get more goals? But if Jimenez was getting the service, do you think he could do more? Because I think, for me, with what I've seen from Joe Linton so far, Rob, I don't think he gets in those sort of areas to get the chances at times. I think sometimes he knows he's not going to get those chances, so he doesn't bother making the runs or bother getting in the areas that potentially Almiron or Saint-Maximin or Atsu could help him out with.
I think I see where you're coming from. However, did we ever see Rondon do that? Did we ever see Gale do that 3 years ago?
I thought Rondon did.
Oh, it made Rondon's deal permanent.
Again, we're in touch. We can kind of link it into this because Wolves were heavily linked with Solomon Rondon at the end of the season, and I think by all accounts, if the Chinese club didn't put in a better offer, I think Wolves might have done something. But again, the former West Bromwich Albion player, I don't know. Can you go from West Brom to Wolves? I'm not too sure. I don't think West Brom would have been happy to do that sort of deal because he would have still been a West Brom player. But would you have paid £16 million for a 30-year-old? And
Yes.
the question gets asked again and again. I think we're all in agreement that we would, but for some reason the men that didn't want to do that were the men that mattered because they wanted to make, that's the deal they'd have had to make. But do you think with £40 million that could have been invested better?
Right, it was
or
only
am I being super harsh on Joe Linton?
It was only 8 million, really.
Oh yeah. But if you look at what we've had to pay to get Joe Linton to come in, if you're just looking at that deal, it's £40 million.
Oh yeah, I think you could have looked at it. Obviously, if you kind of get Rondon, I'm sure there's other people out there who you could have went and get. I mean, I would even have Daniel Sturridge ahead of Dwight Gale, even though he's injury prone. And now, where is he? Turkey? Is a Trabzonspor?
I don't think he's actually playing for a club at the moment.
No, I think he is. I think he's over
Turkey. Did he?
I think he's playing for Trabzonspor. I would have Daniel Sturridge even if it's on the bench. You know, someone like that because he's quality. I know he's I was injured, but it's a bit like Carroll, innit?
Would you start Andy Carroll this weekend?
I would, yeah. I've said this for a couple of weeks. I don't think there's nothing wrong with... If you're playing the one up top, I would. If you're playing two, I'd probably start the two, or even Gale is one of the other. I think Joe Linton, sometimes you just need a reminder saying, look, you're not always going to be first choice. You're having it a little bit difficult. I think just take them out of the limelight for a game or two games will wake them up a little bit. Sometimes players hate being benched. They see it as...
Give them the kick of the backside.
Yeah, or they'll sulk. It'll be one of those two. And I think Almiron wouldn't sulk. I think Almiron would want to go, right, I'm going to prove you wrong, you know. I think drop him to the bench. I just don't feel like you should build a team around Joe Linton and Almiron who are not producing yet. If they're producing and then they go to the bench, I'd be like, okay, that's wrong. Okay, I get that. But sometimes players need to just take up the limelight to just give them, like I say, a kick up the backside to produce. And even if they come off the bench, like Almiron was brilliant against Wolves. You know, sometimes do that. Like I say, I'll only have Matt Ritchie as your guaranteed starter because he is a leader on that pitch. Yes, he might not get 5 to 10 goals like he used to, but he gets crosses in. We miss Matt Ritchie. Just get crosses in. I know Williams has done all right, but looking forward to seeing him come back in a week or two.
Yeah, definitely. Rob, would you make any changes if you were Steve Bruce? Would you bring in a Carroll? Would you bring in Atsu for an Almiron or an ASN just to change up a bit? Would you change anything in centre midfield, or what would you do?
Atsu for Almiron, definitely. I'm still a little bit undecided over the future partnership of the Longstaff brothers in central midfield. I just still think we might be giving Matty a little too much. I mean, if he continues to start games and doesn't quite hit the heights like he did yesterday, like he failed to do yesterday, I get the feeling that this run in the first team in starting games might do more harm than good for him. That would be my concern. So once Hayden comes back from suspension, I think bring Hayden back as soon as the suspension is lifted.
And then there's talk of obviously Shelby signing a contract as well. What Steve Bruce was saying in his press conference. So Shelby's only got 18 months left. If you got to sell him, this will be the best time in January or even the summer at the worst case because you're not getting any money from him later on. So, but I would agree to some extent as well. I think Sean, despite him obviously being local, shouldn't start every game. It's the same as any of the midfielding forwards now. Sometimes you just need to remind them that you're not always the guarantee.
I think you're totally right. Again, we've got to kind of put some element of realism on this. Matty Longstaff's had 2 Premier League appearances, and Sean Longstaff's just had 20 Premier League appearances. So they're still very, very new to the game, essentially, of Premier League football. So let's give Sean and Matty a few more games if that's what Steve Bruce wants to do, and let's see then maybe judge them at Christmas time if they're still in the team. But personally, if it was me, I would bring in Isaac Hayden when he's back from that suspension. I think
this is his last one, isn't it? The Wolves one.
The game that he can be in.
He'll start. He'll come straight in.
Yeah. I think he will as well. And I've nothing against both Sean and Matty. I just think we just need someone who, apart from the Leicester game and the Norwich game, I thought has probably been our best player is Isaac Hayden. Just one big mistake, and that is the sending off, which nobody came out of that game.
Well, the more and more the bodies that comes back, again, it gives Bruce more options because there's only now what you're talking when after his suspension, Richie and Lejeune will be literally knocking on the doorstep to either play a game. So it gives Bruce the option of playing 3 in midfield, 2 in midfield, 2 up top, 3 up top, wing backs, 4 at the back, whatever. This will be the first time after Wolves that he's got a fully fit squad, bearing there's no injuries in the next week or two, and he can't really have an excuse now, because if you look at our fixture list now, we've only got one of the big boys from the next 10, 11 games or something
Just
like
Manchester
that,
City to
which
play.
is just Man City, and then obviously the next one is Boxing Day, so we've got a good run where I expect Newcastle to at least win 3 or 4 then.
Do you think maybe, Rob, that Lee's touching on something really good there, the fact that we've played 5 of the big 6, I'm not going to say the top 6, but the big 6, it's only Manchester City, now we've got to play
And Leicester as well.
Leicester, yeah, essentially. So you're looking at probably 5 of the top 6 potentially this season. If you maybe then Manchester City still coming at the end of November. You look at from now till Boxing Day, taking away that Man City game, Newcastle have got to be thinking, right, we're only 2 points off Man United, and they're in 13th. We're 3 points off the top half. If we can get a couple of wins, it just puts us away from that bottom 3 in that relegation lot. Because I'm looking at the bottom half of this table now, and I'm going, oh, how many teams are we better than? I'm struggling to think 3 teams are better than us at the minute.
Sorry, what's the question?
I think the question is, how quickly can Newcastle pick up points to get away from this relegation battle, and is the 3 teams better than us essentially?
Well, I think the intensity that we've worked at in these recent games, especially the ones up against the big 6, we've gone at it full throttle, full intensity, and we've come away with some really good results like Tottenham and Man United. Now that the fixture list, it's going to cough up some so-called easier matches in these upcoming recent weeks, then we need to keep at it at this high intensity. We can't do what we sometimes do in that we go to high intensity against the big 6 teams and then just drop off all of a sudden and make Brighton look good like we did a few weeks ago. We can't afford to do that. It has to be full throttle between now and up until the end of the season, ideally. But in order to give us a chance of staying up, it's full throttle between now and the start of December, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you there, Rob. Adam Taylor says, if you could pick one Newcastle player to put in your fantasy team for the next few weeks, who would it be? If it was
Fabian Schär.
Fabian Schär would be one up there, but Newcastle do concede a goal every game, so I'm not too sure about that one. But we haven't got a lot of creativity going forward. I think that's more difficult than it makes out, but Fabian Schär is probably a safe bet, isn't it? He'll get the odd goal, won't he? I think that's probably the
I'm
only
not
one
an
I can think
expert in
of.
fantasy football, but is it worth more points if a defender scores a goal?
Yeah,
because they get the clean sheet as well. So it's a bonus to say the least.
So he would be epic for your fantasy football team. When we played Cardiff last year, 3-0, Schär scored twice.
He would have been on Team of the Week, Rob. Team of the Week and everything.
And he's been in a few Team of the Weeks.
Definitely. Philip Kears does drop Joe Litton and Almira and start Carroll and Gale for the Wolves game. Yep, 100% from me. Just to change it around a little bit. If Andy Carroll can do 60 minutes, that would be brilliant for us. Atsu's been garbage, been there for 4 years. Useless from Ada Hebben. Let's have a look at a few more. Relegation looms for us. We are terrible. We cannot press. We cannot pass. We cannot score. Our manager is a joke.
However, no one was saying that 2 weeks ago.
When we beat Manchester United.
Yeah. no one was saying that. We've only played 1 game since a defeat away at Chelsea, which is no mean feat at all. And all of a sudden, Bruce has gone from this heroic person to useless again. And I don't agree with that.
No, do I. But I think what's been labelled at Steve Bruce is the fact after 73 minutes when Marcus Alonso has just scored, Newcastle don't create anything against Chelsea.
They defended well.
They did defend very
and
well.
I think
but how many points did Newcastle end up getting yesterday?
Well, I know it was no shots on target, but I think
how many points did Newcastle get?
0.
Well, no, but it's still a good point. I mean, look, Chelsea away. We've only won there once in the league since 1985, I believe. Certainly since the mid-80s. And that was the Palace.
But now, I've said this already, is now that the fixtures look so much more easier, is now you cannot stop saying that now in interviews now, because now you've played them, you now have an easier run. Yes, we're not expecting nothing against Man City, we expect to hide them from there, but you take that game out, there's a lot of them who are in and around mid-table downwards. And I've said this already, is that the two bottom teams at the minute, we've got 1 point off. So, you know what I mean? So you've got to start winning games now, and there's no excuses. And he's almost got a fully fit squad. So if Bruce doesn't win games, this is where the season will be the deciding factor for me. Because I think we're in an alright position considering those big sides that we've played. Most Newcastle fans will probably say, okay, so we're only on goal difference in the bottom three at this stage, considering who we play. It's an alright return from. It's not brilliant, but it's an alright one. Probably I expected probably a little bit less, to be all honesty, but the next 10, 11, 12 games until Boxing Day, you've got in a lot easier games on paper. I know it's easy saying that on paper, but I think that's where it'll be judged, and that's where it'll determine who we'll buy in January.
Definitely. Just a question that I've just thought at the top of my head, because it was mentioned through the week that Steve Bruce had to say to 5 players that you're not even going to be in the match day squad. If Richie and Lejeune are fit and everybody's fit, who is Steve Bruce saying to them people, you're not my squad, you're not my match day squad? Because if you look at the last couple of games, like man, Kyo's not making the match day squad, Kay's not making the match day squad. You know, there's a couple of players straight away that I can think of. Kieran Clark's been in that situation as well previously.
I think he's the one that might drop out for Lejeune. I think Dummett will keep his place on the bench. Although Kieran Clark hasn't done much wrong, and we always say this about him. Like, you have that little spell when he was scoring goals as well. What was it? The start of mid-season last season, when he was taking out the foul line, he didn't do anything wrong. But I think his position, just because of the fact that Florian Lejeune is just class, he really is. I think he will be under threat, and I think Jeffrey Williams.
Key? Does he?
I think Key's features away from the club. I think he's a free agent in the summer, and I think he'll move probably back to Korea.
Possibly. But
what does he bring?
Calmness on the ball.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm thinking of. I agree with Rob there. I think calmness on the ball. Does Shelby have that potential to stay in that squad if all the players are fit, if Richie's fit?
I always say, if you've got to play Shelby, you've got to play him 10 yards further forward. I don't like him as that holding midfield. I don't like it. I don't think he's got the discipline. I don't think he's got the legs. Like Matty's got the enthusiasm, which benefits him. So, but with John Joe Shelby, I would play him further up.
Do you even put him in the match day squad if Hayden's fit?
Hayden at the minute, because he's the only...
Stuff gets dropped and puts him on the bench.
Hayden's our specialist midfielder. He has to play. And then you pick someone else around him, or two if Bruce goes with the 3. But I think you've got to have... Richie will start, I think Hayden will start, and I think Florian Lejeune, once they're all fit, comes straight back in that 11, never mind the matchday squad.
I think you've got a very, very good point there. It's obviously a tricky situation. Steve Bruce will have to make all those big decisions.
I don't think it's a bad thing, because Jeffrey Williams has done all right. I think there's a bit more. There's a bit more, I think, still to come from him. But even if Richie's not there, I think it's an all right backup. But we still miss Richie's work rate, his crosses. He had the second most crosses last season.
The set piece delivery is fantastic, and we needed a few. Like, I think Sean Longstaff had a couple of free kicks yesterday. I think he had 2 good crosses from about 7 from free kicks. I think it was
he'll be working on his game, won't he?
In the whole game, so maybe we just need to get a little bit more from set piece deliveries as well. Rob, let's get your prediction for Wolves next Sunday as well. It's going to be a tough game, but do you think Newcastle get all 3 points?
I think there's potential, certainly. We'll see how intense Wolves' game is beforehand on the Thursday evening in the Europa League. After watching that, I would be able to give you a more accurate prediction. But I think there's certainly potential there that we can come away with a win. But like I said earlier, Wolves have never been a team that we'd like to come up against. So at the moment, I'd be happy with a draw. So I'll say 1-1.
Lee?
I think we've got to win it, and I'm going to predict the win as well. I think we'll have to win it as well. I'll say 2-0. I'll go very optimistic. 2-0, however.
Wolves play Slovan Bratislava on Thursday away from home, which again go away from home.
I know they've done all right, but I bet that still benefits us.
It does, because they've got to go there, they've got to play the game, they've then got to get a flight back. You're not going to get back into Wolverhampton or Birmingham Airport until Friday morning. You're then probably not going to not do anything on that Friday. Train Saturday, then go up to St James's Saturday night.
Nobody likes to train, do they, Johnny?
No, nobody likes to train.
Especially busy trains.
No, nobody likes trains or tubes or anything like that. But That's another. That's an
inside joke, I think.
That's another radio show.
Or maybe just not for any radio show.
Maybe not.
Clean.
Maybe
It's
not
clean.
on Nova.
Not on Nova. It's clean, but yeah.
We might discuss this on a Christmas video. Maybe we'll discuss that one.
Will I hear Paul singing?
Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want Santa Claus singing, do we? But I'm gonna go optimistic as well. I think Newcastle are going to win this game by 2-1. I think Wolves will come out at the blocks firing, but I think the fatigue maybe from the Europa League away from home, I think will go and help Newcastle United. And I think I'm going to keep on saying this until it happens, but I think Almiron might get on the score sheet off the bench to win it and prove me wrong that he should be in the starting 11. And remember, we do have that interview with Roberto Rojas. Is
Rojas,
that
yeah.
Good
on Owen doing it, yeah.
So shout out to Owen for getting that sorted as well, which should be out very early next week on Newcastle Fans TV YouTube channel. We're going to have a quick break, and in part 4 we're going to talk all things Premier League. It's a Premier League roundup. It's becoming a bit more regular on the Black and White Show. We'll discuss all the games that have happened over the weekend, including Manchester United's 1-1 draw with Liverpool at Old Trafford. VAR will definitely be talked about in part 4 of the Black and White Show. Welcome back to the final part of the Black and White Show. We've discussed a hell of a lot, but I think this will probably be the biggest talking point, and that is VAR. Part 4 is the Premier League roundup. So I kind of like to make this the last bit because obviously there's a game going on 4:04 on a Sunday, which has just happened, so it's nice to get all the games done and talked about. We're going to start with the big one, and that is Manchester United versus Liverpool 1-1. Well,
good point for Man United,
very good point for Manchester United, Rob. You're right. They've stopped Liverpool's winning streak in the Premier League. That was 17 and out for Jurgen Klopp and his Liverpool side. Adam Lallana's late equaliser enough for Liverpool to go 6 points clear at the top of the Premier League after 9 games. But Lee, Marcus Rashford gets the goal for Manchester United to put them in the lead.
He does.
But leading up to the goal, Andy Robertson passes the ball to Divock Origi, tries to turn Marcus Rojo, and he nicks it past him, and Rojo fouls him. No foul given by Martin Atkinson, the referee, for the game. Manchester United then break and counter-attack with Dan James on the right-hand side. He plays in a fantastic cross, has to be said, and Marcus Rashford gets past Joel Matip and puts it past the returning Alisson Becker. VAR looked at the goal, and this is the biggest talking point, Lee. This threshold, how to overturn a decision when there's something so blatant as a foul on the field. Why can't someone at Stockley Park go, Martin, I think you've got this wrong. I think it's a foul. Do you want to have a look at it on the big screen?
They won't look at it. Gary Neville said it in commentary. Not one referee's gone over and had a look at the screen yet. They absolutely bottled it. Every single one of them's petrified. And if they just go over and look at it, they might actually get a right decision. For me, that's a foul. It's soft. It is a soft, but it is a foul. And then 10 seconds later, the ball's in the back of the net.
And look, I'm not saying this is going to decide the title, but you look at how close it was last year, Rob. A point in it, 98 to 97.
It's those fine margins, isn't it,
is.
that mean a lot of difference. I'll be honest, I haven't seen it. I only heard it on the radio. But I think VAR having so much of an impact this weekend, I think more so in other matches that we'll be talking about. I'll save my points of view on VAR for those upcoming matches.
Definitely. Lee, to put insult to injury, Liverpool then have a goal disallowed by VAR. A lovely ball, a long ball, has to be said, that was handled by Man. It did touch his hand. It was soft. I think it's a bit unfair because it's hit his thigh then onto his hand. But if it does hit your hand, according to the handball law, not VAR, then it is
unless
not
you're
a goal.
Unless you're playing Watford, which you get away with one.
Well, we got away with that one, but I'm thinking the Man City versus Tottenham game, second game of the season, when Man City handled the ball.
From the corner.
Nobody's seen it on the pitch. It was only when it was replayed through VAR, which is obviously why that goal was disallowed. It was very, very similar to that from Sadio Mane, who did put the ball in the back net and passed David De Gea, who everyone thought might be out for a little while, but he miraculously returned following his injury for Spain through the week. But Liverpool did equalise in the second half. Adam Lallana coming on for Jordan Henderson, who didn't really have the best of games, has to be said. But it was Andy Robertson's cross on the left-hand side towards the Liverpool fans, which the cross went through everybody, and then Adam Lallana's in the far post to put it in the empty net past David De Gea. It's a big point, Rob, a big point for Liverpool, and they could have ended up getting nothing from the game. But with Manchester City win, which we'll touch upon next, 6 points clear after 9 games, every Liverpool fan would have taken that.
For sure. I don't think anyone would have expected Man City's, I would say below par start, but to be honest, it's still a decent start. 19 points at this stage. But Liverpool have just been formidable, haven't they? But they've got some tough games coming up, so I think in the coming weeks we shall see what this Liverpool team is really made of, and whether they've got the grit and determination to, that is made of title challenges.
Definitely. Liverpool's next 5, by the way. Tottenham at home in the Premier League, Rob, not in all competitions, but this is just in the Premier League. Tottenham at home.
That's a 3 points or
Aston Villa away. Manchester City at home. Brighton at home as well, and there's another biggie as well. I think Everton was one, maybe in December as well. So
in a way, all of those are winnable matches. That's what for
the Man City one to begin.
It is on the 10th of November. Manchester City travel to Anfield, and that is a really big game. If Liverpool still 6 points clear roughly, then that turns into a huge game on the 10th of November on the D-Day anniversary, obviously with everything to do with the World War, so there'll obviously be quite poignant to that weekend for the footballing world. Newcastle take on Bournemouth that weekend. That's obviously a bigger game at St James's Park on the 9th of November, a day before. Let's touch about Manchester City. They played the day before. They played 5:30 after Newcastle's narrow defeat yesterday. They beat Crystal Palace 2-0. Quite an impressive performance, has to be said. Lee, Crystal Palace have done very, very well. They've only lost to Sheffield United before this game, and they've got quite a few difficult games. Crystal Palace have actually got to play the sides that are directly above them in the league. But it was just brilliant play by the champions. 2 goals in quick succession. First from Gabriel Jesus and then David Silva with a fantastic volley. It pretty much killed the game there and then, didn't it?
I think with Manchester City winning this game, it wouldn't surprise you that they go on a run where they just win 10, 12 games in a row. So, although Liverpool have, you might say, dropped 2 points today, Manchester City could just go on that run. Manchester City have the best squad. They've got a better squad than Liverpool. Liverpool have the better 11, in my opinion. But Manchester City could rest players for certain games and still win it. Liverpool cannot do that. When Salah was missing for Liverpool today, I feared for them a little bit. I think they missed him. I think Man United bossed them in the first half in particular. But Manchester City winning, I think they'll go on a run now. I think they'll just win and win and win.
I think it's a big hurdle for Manchester City was Crystal Palace, because that can be a banana skin to say the least.
And they've started well, haven't they?
But David Silva's goal, Rob. What a fantastic finish, but what fantastic football as well.
It's beautiful. Particularly love Sterling's dinking ball, and then David Silva. We're all going to miss him when he moves on at the end of the season.
I don't think I will.
Well, maybe not. But I mean, the neutrals, the Premier League,
of course,
brilliant player, to still play at this quality. He's coming up to his mid-30s now, 33, I think he is.
Yeah.
So I think to still play at the high quality just goes to show how great he is. Really, is excellent player. Man City will miss him. I think many of us will miss him too.
Definitely the Premier League winner, the World Cup winner, the European Championship winner as well.
Count £24 million as well. It cost nearly 10 years ago from Valencia, who were in quite a bit of money trouble at the time. I remember.
Yeah.
So they felt the need to sell David Silva, and goodness me, in today's
You'd triple
market,
that now, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He'd be 75 on, wouldn't he?
Yeah, definitely. There's a stat that I forgot to mention with the Manchester United-Liverpool game. I have to tell you this, Rob, because I couldn't believe it. I don't know if you know this.
Go for it.
Manchester United have not lost in 283 games now in the Premier League when leading at half-time.
Wow.
How many do you think they've drawn out of those 283 now?
Oh, okay.
You have to have a guess, because I don't. If you knew it, then
I reckon it's less than 50. I'll come to an exact number. I'm going to say, okay, I reckon 30 odd, 34 maybe.
18.
Wow.
That's incredible. I couldn't believe that.
Wow.
I think that was a hell of a stuff, but
good on you, referees.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. The first game of the weekend was at Goodison Park, where Everton took on West Ham in what was a big game for Marco Silva, Lee. But Everton got a big 3 points, first from Bernard and then from Gylfi Sigurdsson with a fantastic curling effort into the top corner. Pressure slightly off the
Had to win
Everton
that.
manager
It's
now.
a good win. It's a good win as well. To West Ham are in the top 10 before that. And they were in the bottom 3 before this. And we don't expect Everton to be down there. They'll pull away, I feel. Nice to see Sigurdsson, because he's been under the cosh because he can't fit into this Everton system for whatever reason. Never could Rooney. I don't know what it is about Marco Silva and number 10s. But it's a great win against a top side like West Ham. I think Everton and West Ham will probably be similar towards the end of the season, 9-10, something around about that position. But I expect Everton to start winning a few games now.
So you expect them to go on the road now, do you think?
I think Everton will be in the top 10. I know they've started sluggish, but I generally feel that they'll be in the top 10, and they've got backing as well. If they need to go and splash the cash in January, I think they will.
Rob, Bernard's goal, fantastic trickery, but do you think Roberto, who had a good game, it has to be said, could do better with the goal?
Definitely. He'll be kicking himself with that. To be honest, when Bernard received the ball in the first place, I was surprised he didn't take the shot on earlier. It almost reminded me of Kennedy when he was with us. He had the chance to shoot, get a chance away, decided not to, and decided just to try and beat his opponent for the sake of beating his opponent. So I think everyone thought the chance had gone, just as he tried to beat the opponent again. But hats off to him. He does well to turn it in from a tight angle, but the goalkeepers, one of the first rules of goalkeeping, always cover your near post. Roberto hasn't done it there.
Definitely. I was going to quickly mention that Bournemouth drew 0-0 with Norwich. A good point for Norwich down the south coast, because obviously it's just another point away from home. Keeps trying to get them out of the relegation zone, but stops the losing.
Wasn't Owen down there?
Well, maybe, I don't know. That's just vicious rumours going around about that. But we'll leave that for another day. But yeah, a point for Norwich at the Vitality Stadium.
That's it. Move on. 3 shots in the game. That's it.
Yeah, Tim Krul actually made a good save as well. That's the only thing I'm going to say about that game, because that's literally all I can say about that game. Leicester 2, Burnley 1, a quite poignant day at the King Power Stadium, as it's nearly a year since Vishai Shrivadana passed away from that horrific helicopter crash in which 5 people died. It was the closest game for a year, because obviously they're away next week, are Leicester. So this is obviously the closest to that, to recognise the importance and obviously the sad occasion. But Vishai was probably looking down on them with happiness after Leicester beat Burnley by 2-1. Didn't start brilliantly for Leicester. It was the former Leicester player Chris Wood that got the first goal of this game. A fantastic header right in the top corner, nothing that Kasper Schmeichel could do anything about, which gave Burnley the lead, and Sean Dyche's side looked pretty comfortable, has to be said. But Jamie Vardy, just on the stroke of half-time, equalised with a header of his own after getting a lot of stick from the Burnley fans after stories on the tabloids or on Twitter.
What stories are them?
About Wagatha Christie, I think that was the title, wasn't it? I think Rebecca Vardy and Colleen Rooney. But so Jamie Vardy just had a little word to say about to the Burnley fans.
Would have made a good story.
I think it would have been something to say, would you be very quiet, please?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yes.
Would have made a good story.
Would have been, yeah. If it's true, it's a very, 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 very good story. But Jamie Vardy did equalise.
Nobody got that there. Instagram story? Never mind. Anyways, crack on. I thought you would have clicked onto that one. I can tell you don't use Instagram, do you?
But Jamie Vardy scored for Leicester to equalise, and then in the second half, Tielemans getting the decisive goal to give Leicester a 2-1 win. But another VAR controversy, Rob. Chris Wood's goal disallowed, his second goal of the game would have been disallowed for a foul on Johnny Evans, as it seems to have clipped the back of his heel before the ball goes in the net, so Johnny Evans can't clear it off the line.
Evans wouldn't have got to the ball even if he wasn't clipped. He wouldn't have got to the ball. It's not a clear and obvious error.
Do you think that Evans did well to just give the referee a decision to make?
He's done well. He knows what he's doing, because he knows that if he doesn't go crying to the referee like he did, then there's no reason to really look for it in the VAR check that is compulsory when it comes to when every goal is scored. You get a VAR check, but if he doesn't go crying to the referee, then there's no reason for the officials to look for it.
Yeah, definitely. Sean Dyche was livid post-match about that as well.
Done well, Leicester in third in the table. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, and obviously for Koen Vishai, a win, obviously, but in very difficult circumstances, it has to be said. Let's move on to Tottenham 1, Watford 1. Another VAR.
You'd think that the VAR in this game was run by Darlington Borough Council. So these aren't a bunch of amateurs we're talking about. This is Darlington Borough Council.
Definitely. Tottenham 1, Watford 1. A lot of pressure on Mauricio Pochettino after Tottenham had a week from hell, to be brutally honest with you, with a defeat to Bayern Munich and then a defeat to Brighton, and then losing Hugo Lloris for a long period following a horrific elbow injury. It got from bad to worse to start with. Abdoulaye Doucouré getting the goal for Watford to put them in the lead after 6 minutes, but Dele Alli, the returning Dele Alli who started his first game of the season, managed to get from a Ben Foster mistake, has to be said, a Ben Foster error, to put the ball in an empty net. After VAR was consulted for a possible handball from Dele Alli, the referee blew for a goal. The sign said no goal. A lot of confusion. Yeah. But the right decision was made, but they've had to come out and apologise, the Premier League, because of obviously that error, which meant that Spurs fans and Watford's fans weren't too sure what was going on, but it was definitely a goal. It was definitely a point for Watford. They're still looking for their first win of the season. Talking about another 1-1 draw and another VAR controversy is Wolves and Southampton. It was all square at Molineux. Obviously, Wolves take on Newcastle, as we mentioned, next Sunday. Why is VAR such a massive talking point at the minute, Lee? Because I'm counting on my piece of paper here. 1, 2, 3, 4 possible.
It's meant to clear up the errors in the controversies. It's more.
The referee's decisions, isn't it?
It's more of a talking point for me. They've already said a few weeks back that they've got was a forward decisions wrong, and obviously we were involved with the Isaac Hayden one. It seems to be happening more and more, but I'd like the referees to go over and just look at it as well. I think that'll be because they do it everywhere else.
Yeah.
In particular, I don't know if you've watched the MLS, but the MLS refs do it more thorough than anywhere else. They go right up to the screen and look at it for a good 2 or 3 minutes.
Is it just too much time consuming?
But they get it right. That's the important thing. Like you say, you're talking about points. That might get someone a title. It might get someone the Europa League. It might get someone relegated. It could be someone winning a cup. It could be anything. So I think the timing needs to be speeded up. I do agree. I think the referees need to go over the sides. With this handball rule, I didn't know this existed. Do you know,
It's a new handball
when it
rule.
just literally hits your hand. So,
Yeah.
but
If
then
if
the attacker hits the hand, that's it. But for me, just go back to the old rule. If it hits your hand, it's a free kick or penalty, regardless if you meant it or not. Just go to that rule.
That's what I think
Simple.
they're trying to do, though, aren't they?
Just simplise it. Never mind ball to hand to ball. If it hits your hand, if the referee doesn't deem it as, so what? It's penalty.
So say what you like about the handball rule, but I think the yellow card for Jimenez for what was a clear accidental handball was a step too far.
It was massively, but Jimenez managed to get some sort of compensation out of it because he got obviously the penalty.
Not before he scored again.
Yeah.
Before he got rid. And then this is a big problem with VAR because I'm sure they had just kicked off again. Like when Jimenez scores that from close range, they had just about kicked off again, so that the ball becomes alive again, and then that's when the referee says, "Oh wait, we're going to disallow it."
Yeah,
that's just not implementing the rules. That's just wrong. And for me, I mean, sorry
it's
to
fine.
continue interrupting you, Johnny, but it was about this time last year or so when teams or representatives of clubs were voting on this notion of whether to introduce VAR for this season. And I just wonder whether they knew what they were voting for. Whether, because I mean, some leagues use it differently to others. Officially speaking, they only use it in the Premier League to take away clear and obvious errors. But as we've seen so far this season, only 7 weeks or so, 7 or so weeks in, that there is it just adds to confusion.
I'm going to dread it when it happens at St James's Park because we can't see it. I'm in the East Strawberry corner, and obviously there's no TV screens there, and you can barely hear the announcements because it's very echoey. The announcer at St James's Park, I can barely hear what he makes out. I think fans need a clear up as well. I think it's easier to watch a game because then you could replay it and stuff like that. Whereas if you're in the stadium, it's a lot more difficult to see what's actually happening. Because I can't hear the announcement. I'm in the section where people sing as well, so it's pretty difficult. And that's another thing that needs looked at. Or even the electronic scoreboards that go around St James's.
Just to say goal or no goal.
VAR check, no goal, simple as that. And there's a lot of things that probably need looked at for me.
Yeah, it is difficult though. But Southampton did take the lead through Danny Ings after Wolves were a bit sloppy at the back. But as Rob's mentioned, Raul Jimenez equalised for Wolves to give Southampton a point away from home, which is probably going to be a big point for them in their relegation battle along with Newcastle, unfortunately. One of the big games of the weekend, it has to be Aston Villa versus Brighton, a 2-1 win for Aston Villa.
Ooh.
But again, a lot of controversy as well. Brighton did take the lead through Adam Webster, his first goal in the Premier League, a header from a free kick, which was too good for Tom Heaton, gave Brighton the lead. But 2 yellow cards and 2 silly yellow cards, has to be said. The first from Aaron Moy, who eventually gets sent off. The first for kicking the ball away as he thought the free kick was taken from the wrong position. The referee disagreed and gave a yellow card. And then for a late challenge on Jack Grealish, which resulted in a sending off, which could have easily been avoided. But Brighton went down to 10 men, and Villa went on the other end and scored through Conor Hourihane, but it was disallowed because there was a foul on the goalkeeper. It was very soft, but probably just about a foul.
Again, it's not a clear and obvious error.
Again, but what is a clear and obvious error? That's the threshold that we're talking about.
I'll tell you what a clear and obvious error is when it's your own teammate that impedes the goalkeeper more than the attacking player.
Yeah. Again, but it's all down to opinions as well. And one referee will look at it, and one person will look at it, stop his part, and go, "I think that's more of a foul." But it is difficult to say the least. They have got a very difficult job to have referees, but. No. Aston Villa didn't get that decision. Dean Smith wasn't very happy. To put it politely, he said it was absolutely rubbish. the decision. But Aston Villa didn't have to wait long to get back on level tracks. Jack Grealish scoring from close range from a cross inside the box. It was 1-1 going into half time, and you feel that Villa would have the momentum, and eventually they did break down Brighton, but it came in the 93rd minute. Target scoring what I thought was
on target.
It was on target.
You stole my point. You stole my point.
I've got him there.
No, 4 minutes till the end of the show, and it's
I've stolen from him. He's got to be upset tonight. He's going to send me a WhatsApp later on tonight.
What I'm thinking is that if Kyle was here, he'd be like, "Oh no, not yous again, not yous too." Oh,
yeah, it wouldn't have gone down too well for sure. But Target got the very, very big goal for Aston Villa, and whether you like it or not, Lee keeps them away from the bottom three.
Southampton.
Aston Villa.
Oh, Villa. I think I thought Villa would struggle, and I might be eating my word there, mind a little bit. I would like to see them struggle, don't get me wrong, because obviously Newcastle and Villa fans don't really get on. With Villa, though, I think they've spent a lot of money, and it's paying off at the moment. It's just, can they get through a bad spell? Because they will at some point have a bad spell. But I think they're looking all right in a minute. I think they're not. They haven't been dragged in yet. I know it's only 8 or 9 games in, but if they're still where they are, 19, 20, 21 games in, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely.
Although I don't want them to be fine, of course.
I think that John McGinn, if he stays fit, I think Villa stay up. In my personal opinion, I think he's been absolutely fantastic for Aston Villa this season. And finally, the last game that I'm going to talk about is happening tomorrow night. It is Sheffield United against Arsenal at Bramall Lane. Arsenal travel to Sheffield United the first time since they were back in the Premier League. Sheffield United actually won this game 1-0. I think it's about 12 or 13 years ago now, but I think what was more remembered is Phil Jagielka going in goal for Sheffield United after Paddy Kenny pulled his groin.
God, I remember that. I remember the FA Cup game as well. Was it the FA Cup one that had to get replayed?
Yeah. And Sheffield United used to do quite well as a championship team against Arsenal as well. What do we think, Rob? Can Arsenal go there and put the pressure on? Likes of Liverpool and Manchester City, can they be really involved in a title race?
Bramall Lane's a difficult place to go, and when you mix that in with Arsenal, who are very poor away from home, I can see Sheffield United coming away with at least a draw on this one.
I think they were very unlucky not to get a draw against Liverpool.
A win is certainly possible.
What about yourself, Lee? Do you think Sheffield United have any chance tomorrow? Can the fact that it's a night game under the lights, Arsenal got to travel up north, it's that same thing when they come and play Newcastle.
Travel up north, all the way to Sheffield, which is like 2 hours south.
For us.
I expect Arsenal to win it. The waveform isn't great. I know they beat us, but apart from that, the waveform hasn't been brilliant. But going forward, Arsenal are absolutely unbelievable. I'm gonna say Arsenal will nick it probably 1-0, and I think it'll do us the world of good if Arsenal can win it. Because no doubt about it, Sheffield United are going to be down there around us somewhere at the end of the season, and we need Arsenal to win this.
Yeah, I think we definitely need Arsenal to win this. Well, we'll get a quick prediction from you before we finish the show. Sheffield United versus Arsenal tomorrow night.
2-1 Sheffield United.
Really? I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Surprised. I'm going to go Arsenal win this 2. Now I think it'll be a close game, but I think Arsenal have just a bit too much for Sheffield United's defence, even though you don't get many overlapping central defenders or centre halves, but Chris Wilder's done an exceptional job so far in the Premier League for the Blades. My thanks to Rob Spieral, my thanks to Lee Law in a week that has been dominated by racism. Newcastle United couldn't turn up in terms of winning the game, but at least it was the football that we got to talk about and not any racism or any racist chants. We'll be back next week for the Black and White show after Newcastle's game against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and we'll see you all next week for the Black and White show.
Get you out of my mind. It's like I feel it for the first time. Been thinking about you all night. I've been searching for this all my life. You're just my type. I've been looking for a boy who can treat me right. Your dark hair with those eyes so bright. They look into my soul and it sparks my life. Can I take you there? Like it was the first time. Do you remember? Can I take you there? Back to when we felt like this was forever. Can take you there? Like it was the first time, do you remember? Can I take you there? You're all I need. Can I take you there? Can I take you there? Always falling for the wrong guys. They keep telling me it's alright. How could I be so blind? I've been searching for this all my life. You're just my type. I've been looking for a boy who can treat me right. Your dark hair with those eyes so bright. They look into my soul and it sparks my life. Can I take you there? Like it was the first time, do you remember? Can I take you there? Back to when we felt like this was forever.